Friends, we're back. We're back to talk today about the Croatian national football team. We could also say soccer team if we were referred to the United States and its performance in World Cups. But it's very important to tell you also that we're going to talk about the relationship between Croatia and the Venezuelan national team, Venezuelan national football team. At the end of it, as you know, this is a Venezuelan-made video, so we have always to talk about a little bit about the rest of the countries and especially about Venezuela. Today we will present previously unpublished information, and in some cases we're going to use the artificial intelligence, AI, to help us. We're going also to prove this artificial intelligence. Talking about the background, in 1873 in Rijeka, Englishmen laid the foundations of the football in Croatia. In 1907, the FIFA recorded the existence of a Croatian national team, but there's no much information about it. Between 1919 and 1939, Croatian players joined the team of the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. That was the first Yugoslavia, or the monarchic Yugoslavia. The first national team was formed really in 1940 and lasted until 1943, in the practical way, we could say 1945, the end of the World War II. In 1940, following the creation of the autonomous viceroyalty or viceroyalty, the Banovina, an unofficial team was formed and played several matches. The first was against Switzerland in Zagreb, and in 1941, with the creation of the independent state, the Croatian Federation joined the FIFA and played 19 friendly matches. They were in war. It was dissolved at the end of the world with the formation of the communist Yugoslavia. Their first match was a 4-0 victory against the Swiss. Was played in April the 2nd in 1940. This is the photographs of that team. Has been worked into colors already by the internet, and here we found several photographs of this team. We knew that they used a red shirt and white pants. This was an alternative uniform, and here we see, so we asked the artificial intelligence to give colors in these photos, considering everything, considering that this was the Croatian national team in 1941. And what we got, really, we liked it. The artificial intelligence was not wrong. These were the colors. I don't know if these ones here, these ones or these ones are, but definitely this was the color of Croatia. This was the color of Croatia, also here, and this was an alternative uniform of black and white. At the end of the World War II, Croatian players joined the Yugoslavian national team until 1991, when they were officially formed once again as the Croatian national team. In 1987, Yugoslavia won the world champion team, the under-20 world national team, comprised mostly of young Croatian players. This marked the beginning of the future of the Croatian national team. These were the young men that were world champions in 1987, and the most prominent figures were Prosinecki, was a Ballon d'Or in this competition. The best player was Golden Boot Davor Soccer, or Zucker was the first, I don't know exactly how to say, the guy that made most of the goals. And Boban, Zvonimir Boban, Davor Zucker and Zvonimir Boban was silver boot, means the second player in making goals. Finally, center player Jarni was also in the eyes of the major European clubs. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Milan, they were looking to sign these players, and they got them. Boban went to Milan, Zucker went to Madrid, Prosinecki were also to Madrid and to Barcelona. Jarni was also to Real Madrid, so they were immediately kept by the great teams. But the Renaissance began after 2021, after 1991, In this World Cup, they have qualified in 7 out of 8 times. This is a very, very good record. It's not easy to qualify. It's already really, you see great teams, they don't qualify. So in 7 out of 8 times was really a very good pedigree. In the 1998 World Cup in France, they finished 3rd. In Russia, 2nd, and in Qatar, in 2022, 3rd again. In the European Championship, they were also qualified 7 out of 8 times, reaching the quarterfinals twice. In 1992, the formation of a new national team was completed with the Union of Croatian Football Federation with FIFA and UEFA, and they got the 125th place in the world ranking. But very quickly, in 1994-95, they were considered the 40th in the world ranking, the 40th position. They were also given this prize, Mover of the Year, because of these results. 1998, in the World Cup in France, the first with 32 teams, they reached the semifinals, eliminating Romania and Germany before losing to the host in a controversial match. It was really controversial. We're not going to talk about it. However, the world was astonished by the defeat of this checkered team. They ultimately managed to defeat the powerful Netherlands team, and they secured the 3rd place. This was the team that obtained that result, 3rd place in the World Cup in France. And now they begin the celebrations. We're not going to talk, football is a game where you play 11 against 11, but we have to talk very briefly about what these men were. These men were heroes, and they played in a lot of teams. For example, Prosinecki, he won 3 Yugoslav League titles with Red Star, the European club, and the Intercontinental Cup in 1991. He was a FIFA World Youth Champion under 20 with the Yugoslav nation in Chile in 1987. He played for Real Madrid, Oviedo, Barcelona, Sevilla. Here was where he's just taking the cup, the champions, nowadays considered Champions League. They were considered the European Cup. After the war, he played for 4 years with the Croatian national team, achieving the famous 3rd place in 1998 World Cup in France. Another wonderful player was Davor Zucker. Played for Dinamo Zagreb, Sevilla, Real Madrid, Arsenal, and TSV Munich. With Real Madrid, he won Liga, the Championship, the Spanish Super Cup, and the Champions League. He was also one of the champions in the 1987 World Championship in Chile. He participated, I cannot read all this, so he participated in the 1988 World Cup, and he got the Golden Boot and the Silver Board. This means the best player of the competition is the Golden Boot, and the second goal maker. After that, he held technical positions in Real Madrid, and from 2012 to 2021, he was president of Croatian Football Federation. Zvonimir Boban was another of these important players. He got in Chile in 1987 the Silver Boot Award, and in 1992 he joined Milan, where he played for 9 seasons, winning 4 titles and the Champions League in 1994. Member of the Croatian team that finished third in the 1998 World Cup in France, he retired in 2002 and is currently president of Dinamo Zagreb since 2025. He was also very famous because the 4th of May 1990, there was a great struggle. There was a match between Dinamo Zagreb and Red Star of Belgrade, and the public, the Croatian public, was attacked by Serbian public, and the police began to in a very critical position, began to attack also the Croats. So he came out and he kicked one policeman, and this photograph, some newspapers talk about the kick that triggered the end of Yugoslavia, and I wouldn't say so. It's more complex, the situation, but anyway, it didn't help to support the Yugoslavia absurd country. It didn't help, and he became a hero. Undoubtedly, he became a hero. Here we are in 2018, the new team, and they got the 2nd place in the World Cup in Russia. They arrived for the first time into finals, and they also lost in a very critical match. Here's the celebration in 2018, and Luka Modric needs very little introduction. Everyone knows who Modric is. Began at 16 years in Dinamo Zagreb. He moved to Tottenham Hotspurs, and then he went to Real Madrid, where he won everything. 5 Spanish Super Cups, 4 titles, 2 King's Cup titles, 6 Championship League titles, 5 UEFA Super Cups. Incredible, this. He got also here the silver ball and the golden ball. And for records, he's the only player in football history to have won the Ballon d'Or, the FIFA World Player of the Year, the UEFA Men's Players of the Year award, and the World Cup Golden Ball in the same year. This was an unforgettable 2017-2018 season. Since 2006, he has been a key player and natural healer of the Croatian team, and we're going to have him also now in a few days. Also, Rakitic was a very good player that contributed to all these good results. He played for the Croatian national team from 2007 to 2019. Look at all the championships he won. We're not going to read them. A lot of them. Also Mandzukic, incredible, this enormous quantity of titles. And he played for the national Croatian team from 2007 to 2018. Also Perisic, we still have Perisic in this 2026 World Championship. He got also all these titles, and he played in Belgium, Germany, Italy, England, Croatia, and nowadays in the Netherlands. So let us remember what happened in 2018. First of all, first match, Croatia beat Nigeria 2-0. Then Croatia beat Argentina 3-0 in 2018. And see, these photographs shows what it was. Messi, incredible depressed, and here is a great joy between the Croatians. Here we see Croatia-Iceland, a very hard match, but finally Croatia ended this first phase with 9 goals on favor and only 1 against. That was in penalty. And this was a particularly difficult group, so their performance in this phase was a surprise. Then we went to the round of 16, and Denmark was a very difficult team also. We went to extra time, and in penalty shootout, we were able to defeat the Danish 3-2. And in this case, Subasic made history because he stopped 3 penalties in the one penalty definition. Moscow in quarterfinals, we went against Russia. They were the team playing in their country. The match finished 1-1, extra time 2-2, and we went to penalty once again. We passed in penalties. Well, and the international press showed this very common, very, I don't know, we can laugh a little bit about this. Russia before and after the game with the Croatians. We went to semifinals against England, and this time we didn't arrive to penalties, but we went to extra time and we were able to defeat the British 2-1. So we arrived for the first time in the final, first and only time in the final. So, but we arrived against the local team with 3 matches with extra time. They didn't have matches with extra time, 1 less day of rest, and matches with high physical demands that the French didn't have. So it already was really hard for us. Well, Russia, France won in also a very difficult to analyze a lot of things that went there. But anyway, we arrived the seconds, and arriving the seconds was really a great thing for Croatia. That was also the great satisfaction of Dalic, the coach. He was a football player, and then he managed to be a coach in several teams, and he got a good result with the Al Ain in the United Arab Emirates. So the Croatian national team wasn't going very good, and they asked him to go and coach this team. He agreed only if he could make the team qualify to the 2018 World Cup. And he did. And not only to qualify, he did also to arriving to the second place, and in 2022 to the third place. So we arrived here. We're going to see the awards. Remembering the awards was President Colinda, and also with French President Macron. Here you see, remembering the moment in which Putin was covered with a very strong rain, but no one covered Macron or Colinda. Here is Dalic just embracing the president. And here they were very happy, both of them, even they were very wet. Here the very, very interesting photograph, very nice photographs of the president embracing Modric. And you see the face of Modric. He was able to get the prize of the best player of the championship, but he couldn't celebrate very much because he was also dreaming, like everyone, with being champions. So they went back to Zagreb, and they went back to an Airbus A319, and they were received by the two jets of the Air Force, two MiG-21 jets. Nowadays they are not anymore in service. You see, he is the plane that made history also. And they arrived into Zagreb in this plane. You see here how they were received, like really heroes. And the population was waiting for them, especially in the Jelačić Square. And also the statue of Jelačić was covered by this great square. And see how they covered all situation here. You see the photographs, they talk by themselves, remembering what was really a great success. And celebrations went till night. 4 years later, we went to Qatar. And in the first phase, we won to Canada 4-1, and then 0-0 to Morocco and 0-0 to Belgium. And we went to round 16 against Japan. We also went to penalties, and we beat the Japanese 3-1. The quarters, we had to play against the giant, against Brazil. And also, we went to penalties once again, and we beat them. And then we arrived to semifinals to Argentina. 4 years before, we were able to beat Argentina 3-0. And this time, we were not able. Argentina beats us 3-0. Was a special revenge for the Argentinians. So, we had to go for the third place. And we had to go against a team that was a surprise in this World Championship. It was a very difficult match also, but we finally got the third place and got the bronze. Here you see new celebrations, and back to Zagreb, a great celebration also. And what are the links with Venezuela? The links with Venezuela are very important. This link is my father. Vittorio Godinha was my family. He was born in Pula in 1906 under Austrian domination. Here, when he was 14 years old in 1920, Istria became Italian till the Second World War, and at the end in 1947 became Yugoslavian, and then in 1992 became once again Croatia. My father was born in Pula under Austrian dominion. He is playing in the local team of Pula. He was 16 years old, and he went to play in Perugia, and he won the second division championship, being at the same time player and coach. And he was acquired by the great team in those days, the Genoa nowadays. And we asked the artificial intelligence to give colors to these teams. I knew the colors, and I thought that this was going to be very difficult for the artificial intelligence. This team was green. The Edera was green because the plant is green. This team was like the first Croatian team, red and white. This was red and blue, half of the shirt red and half blue, and the pants were blue. And this one we didn't do it because this was a mess with another team, and we didn't want to ask. So the surprise was that they gave the green to the Edera in Pula. They gave the red and white for the Perugia. And what was most surprise for me was that they were able to give the red and blue of the Genoa team. And this is only this when the fascists, Mussolini was on the government in Italy, they created a place because they wanted to make the Olympic Games in Rome. And this was played, this was called the Foro Mussolini. This is a big obelisk with the name Mussolini Ducks. They are trying, or Dukes, they are trying several times. They wanted to pull this down, but finally they didn't. I think it's a very nice piece, even if it says the name of the former president or chief. This is the Italic Forum in Rome, when there plays also the Masters, the Rome Masters in tennis. And this was constructed, this stadium was constructed this way. Nowadays it's called the Italic Forum. Of course, it's not anymore called Mussolini after the war. The Italic Forum, and these were players, 60 players, that were the models. And in the case of the football player, the model was my father. Here's a photograph in Genoa, and here was a photograph with the artist doing the job. Finally, the photograph in the Italic Forum, and here this was in 1964. I was very, very young. Here I was 13 years old in this photograph. Here's my father, already aged, and my sister. Nowadays you are not allowed to get them up there, but in those days you still could. And today we're going to debunk several myths. My father arrived to Venezuela and he was acquired by Dos Caminos Sport Club, and he was called Monsieur. Monsieur, maybe because Monsieur in French is like the Mister. In England, the coach is called the Mister or the Monsieur. Italian, well, he was not born Italian. He always said he was not Italian. He came to Venezuela with an Italian passport and became an Italian citizen, of course, but it became because he had no other things to do. He considered himself born an Austrian, so everyone you see in the press that the first coach of the Venezuelan team was Italian. Of course, that's not a lie, but he didn't consider himself Italian, never. And this is only to remember that Istria, this peninsula here, was in the 9th century, at the beginning was French under Napoleon for a very few years, but depended on France, then became Austrian. And in the 20th centuries, it belonged to Austria, Italy, Yugoslavia, and finally to Croatia. But in the Middle Age, it was also Croatian. Traditionally, it was mostly Croatian. And when he arrived to Venezuela, he became the coach of this team, and he won all these championships. Dos Caminos had never been champion before, and he was second place in all those years. Here is President Medina giving the cup to the Dos Caminos players. I met these players, both of them, in live, of course. So they asked him to be the first coach of the Venezuelan football team, to organize the first football team. And this was the team that went to Panama in 1938. Here you see, from left to right, the players. Mostly 6 of the players were from the same Dos Caminos, and he got another players from other clubs. So this was the first national team. My father also was a physical education teacher, and he was also a pioneer in the fencing competitions, and he was also a fencing sportsman. And he co-founded the National College of Soccer Referees and was an honorary member of the National Referees Committee in the Spanish Football Federation. And this I put here in light blue, head of the Olympic Guard in Caracas in 1959. I'll tell you afterwards why, and this is very important. Here you see a photograph why he came to America. He was his great friend. Till the end of their days, they kept communication. In Argentina, This was the famous Stabile, was the leader goal maker in the world champions, I think 1930, if not 1930, 1934. In the Uruguay championship, he was an Argentinian player, Guillermo Stabile, and this is my father. In these photographs, they were being the coach of the Argentinian team and the Venezuelan team. And here's my father, already an old man, and he's, in my case, we were forming a student team in the medical school of medicine, and he came and he did, also he was our coach for those very few games we played. Considering also this, Zdenko Morovic, he died less than 2 years ago. He was born in Caracas from a Croatian family, and he represented Venezuela's national team between 1987 and 1989, participating in Copa America and South American World Cup qualifiers. In Venezuelan football, he wore the jersey of Caracas Football Club, and he won 3 first division titles and 2 Venezuelan cups. Red wine, this is the color. Burgundy is the color of the Venezuelan national team. So there are a lot of people explaining why we are red wine or Burgundy. Some of them, they say that it's because yellow and blue and red, they make Burgundy. This can be true, but that was not the reason why we're Burgundy. Then there was a very famous sportman that also became a pressman, Chiquitín Etetki. I was invited with him 18 years ago to a program, and he said there that the Venezuelan national team originally was blue, but in the 60s they changed because they got the colors of the National Guard. They didn't have in those moments the pants and the shirts, and they were borrowed them from the National Guard. So this, he was explaining, that happened at the end of the 60s. I knew this was not true, because in 1957, when my father was, as I showed you, chief of the Olympic Guard in Caracas, I myself, I was 8 years old. I was born in 1951, and I walked along with the Venezuelan national teams dressed in burgundy. So in 1959, we were burgundy. So the reasons couldn't be in 1968 or 1967, as Chiquitín Etetki was saying. Then there was another people that says also in programs and explanations, that was in 1948. This is the only true. In 1948, Venezuela was going to the Olympic Games and they didn't have colors. So the International Olympic Committee assigned the color. I heard a lot of these players saying that this assignation was not solicited by Venezuela. Simply Venezuela didn't agree. There were discussions and didn't agree what color to choose, and the International Olympic Committee designed this color by manu militari, decided by them. Now, then, I asked also the artificial intelligence to colorize and optimize the image of the first Venezuelan national team based on the shades of gray and the negatives and prints from that era. And also, it warned that there might be errors. The artificial intelligence warned us that there could be errors. Here was the photographs we had, that I gave it to the Venezuelan Federation, because I have it and the Venezuelan Federation didn't have it. So this photograph, I asked them, and see, so Chiquitín Etetki, maybe he was not right in the colors came from the National Guard. But he was right that the color was blue, no doubt. Here, we return to the first photo. You see that here, you see like this, something you cannot even see what they are. Instead, the artificial shows us that it was the flag, the Venezuelan flags with the stars, and the team was in blue. Why it had nothing to do with the National Guard? The National Guard really was created like a cooperation armed forces and dependent on the army in 1936, 1937. So in 1938, it was not really an organization. It was a department of the army. And he got the separation from the army in 1946, but he didn't have colors. In 1947, they graduated the first officers. They couldn't have a football team. They were graduated in 1 year. And 1952 was the creation of the first coat of arms and the first colors. So impossible that they could be in 1948 Burgundy because of the National Guard. So here's the question. How could the National Guard or the Guardia Nacional have influenced the sports color in 1938 in Panama? Impossible. Or in 1948, decision of the International Olympic Committee. Impossible also. Why did Venezuela go dormant between 1945 or 48 and the 60s? Political reasons. These are political reasons. I am not going to go further. Maybe in another chapter, in another moment, not in this moment. But we had also our success. In the sub-20, we arrived to the final. These young men arrived to the final, and they lost against England, and they lost 1-0. That was really a great success. Not non-repeatedly, but it was a great success. Non-celebrated as it should be. These are our Venezuelan heroes. And for this 2026 that's going to start in a few days, we're going to have 3 goalkeepers. Here's the average age is 28. We also have the defenders with an average age. Here's the age of most of them. They play in great teams all around the world. And we have here in the midfielders, still we have two very famous and already a little bit old, but still in a very great shape. Luka Modric, incredible. He started at 16 years. Incredible. He's going to be still in this championship. Pasalic, 31 years. It's all right. He's not such an old man. Forwards, we're going to have 3. I think a little bit old for being forwards. And why not dream? Here you see my pet. This is Nana, dressed like a captain. And she has the cup here. So she's dreaming with success. Finally, a curious fact that forces us to review history. Croatians arrived in the 7th century and arrived this way, coming from the southern of Poland, southern of England, and they were distributed in all this region. Was like a round country, see? And you see this image over here. But in the 7th, well, maybe before, but before it started before, but the 7th, 16th century, the Ottomans got into here, and Croatia was almost distracted. Only a little bits of military marks here, also Dubrovnik over here, still with independence. What happened is that was this creation of Bosnia-Herzegovina. Bosnia-Herzegovina, there are still a lot of Croats in there. 16 or 18% of the population is Croatian. But in the team was qualified in this World Cup, and was a very difficult match against a very strong team of Italy, and they won finally in penalties also. And in these players of Bosnia Herzegovina, 27% of the players are Croatian or are background from Croatia. The family is Croatian, so there's another team to follow, Bosnia Herzegovina. Not everyone lives and breathes football like we do. At this point, I think many of you, they deserve a cup. They deserve a cup. Maybe not the same cup they're going to play in a few days, but we can have a cup of wine. Thank you very much. If you like it, just give it a like. And if you want to subscribe, it could be wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm laughing because of this hand. Thank you. See you soon.